So you're being recorded now. This is going to be on YouTube. I get to watch it this way. Those of you online, please keep yourselves muted until you have something to say. Otherwise, we get feedback and it makes it hard for anybody to hear. So please mute yourself. And remember, when you want to talk, you have to unmute yourself. Sid, do you guys know how to mute yourselves?
Or unmute?
Anybody need help? Barbara?
Maybe this is it too hot to come out?
No.
I know. Are we ready?
Well, I just want to see. You guys, can you hear us? Okay, you're
Yes.
saying yes. Please mute yourself
We can hear
because
you.
background sound makes it hard for people to hear. Because one of you is not muted and the background sound is annoying. So please mute yourself. Okay. Thank you.
Is everybody at the basket? All righty. Morning, everybody. Morning, all online. Morning, everybody here. Here we go. This is, we're having one more class after this, right? Next week?
Right.
And then we move on, taking a break in August and the rest of July. And September will fire up big. Okay. So, are you done with your Clio?
For a while.
So well, we better pray in first, and hopefully I'll see some of you tonight.
I have a prayer request.
You have a prayer request? What is it?
Just for Frank Lopez's family, that deputy sheriff that was killed yesterday in Yavapai County. It's real close to home for me because my grandson is also a deputy sheriff up there, and my daughter is in the police department up there. So,
Yeah.
yes, we just need some love in this world.
Sure do.
Someone
So
needs
I hope you all online heard this. Sandy has requested prayer for Frank Lopez, the deputy sheriff that was killed. Doug?
Someone's coming in.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So Frank Lopez and Nancy, one of our congregants, is on her way. She's making a big move, leaving her home here and moving up to her daughter's in Colorado. So we want to hold safe travel.
Yeah.
And many of our, like Lois Hansen's husband had surgery on his throat. So rather than naming everyone, let's just, who in your heart you want prayer for. So this morning as we pray in, let's just include, shut the door. Thank you, Linda. And we'll close our eyes and just bring into your thoughts and your heart anyone on your prayer list, and even your own prayer desires, prayers on your heart. So take a deep breath and just get into your heart and consider those that we are including in this prayer. We're unfolding in our love and in the light of God. Spirit of life and love and all things worthy and wonderful, we give thanks right now that your presence and power is blessing everyone that we hold in our hearts and minds, and that you're blessing them in a way that is wonderful and beautiful for them and perfect. So we let go and know that you know, and that your presence and power is activated and quickened on their behalf. And for us here, we give thanks that you are guiding and leading us in this time so that we experience a real sense of connection with the one presence and one power, as well as with each other and with the power of prayer. So we go into this time with a sense of enthusiasm, excitement, and expectancy. Thank you, God. Amen.
Amen.
How, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being high, in terms of vitality and vigor this morning, where are you?
5.
9. 9.5, 10, 5.
5.
8, yeah, 8, 5. Up there, a 10. Jan, 10. Yikes. Fabulous. A 5 for Sig. Barbara, scale of 1 to 10. How vigorous are you feeling? Hold your hands up, Barbara. 10. Oh my gosh. Okay. Cindy, I didn't see your hand. 10. Yikes. And Ken? 10. Well, you know, the people out there are going to lift us up. Billy and Stan? Is that an 8, a 7, a 10? Okay, good. All right. I'm here. I'm here. All righty. Well, so you mentioned love. And of course, we never have too much love. We never give too much love. We never receive too much love. And the world needs love. And so do all of us. So I'm going to share something that I've shared on a Sunday, but I just love it. It's called The Architecture of Abundance. So just close your eyes and just let the words, because you know words have power. Words have power. So just listen to these words and let them kind of settle in your heart and your being. Divine love, unutterable and perfect, flows into the soul the way that light rushes into a transparent object. The more love that it finds, the more that it gives out. So that as we grow clear and open, the more complete the joy of loving is. And the more souls who rejoice together, the greater the intensity of their love is mirror-like, each soul reflecting the other's love. So let's do that today. Just in your heart now, send some love around the room. And you guys send some love up across the ethers, as Charles Fillmore would say, across the ethers into the room, and we'll send it to you. Anything come up for you? Any questions from last week or other weeks? Anything we talked about? Anything about prayer so far? No? Okay. All right, well, I hope you'll stop me if something comes up. So I love Mary Oliver. I love poetry. I think the soul appreciates poetry and is blessed by poetry, good poetry. And Mary Oliver is a poet laureate. She's a renowned poet who taught at, was it Vassar? One of those schools on the East Coast. Anyway, I wanted to share a poem with her just because it's good. Because it's good to listen to good poetry. You ready? You ready out there? All right, here we go. So this is called, the name of the poem is Hallelujah. Everyone should be born into this world happy and loving everything. But in truth, it rarely works that way. For myself, I have spent my life clamoring toward it. Hallelujah. Anyway, I'm not where I started. And have you too been trudging like that? Sometimes almost forgetting how wondrous the world is and how miraculously kind some people are. And have you too decided that probably nothing important is ever easy? Not say for the first 60 years anyway. Hallelujah, I'm 60 now and even a little more. And some days I feel like I have wings. So, Mary Ellen. Now, on to Adventures in Prayer. Any comments about that? How'd you like that poem?
It's pretty.
I just visualize her flying around.
Can't you picture it? I mean, picture yourself, you know, like an angel. All right, let's see. I wanted to do a little repeat here. I have it that last week we ended at 7 ways. Let me get to 7 ways. Whoops. So I believe 7 ways has to do with relationships. Any comments on confusion to clarity and praying for divine guidance? So for all of you, do you feel like you've reached a stage where you can discern divine guidance from your own ego needs?
Yeah, I have. Yes.
It's it helps to be clear, like I was saying Sunday in the message, be clear about who God is to you and who you are to God, because then you know when you are receiving guidance. You know, if something is, if it's loving, you know it's divine guidance, right? If it's not loving, it's probably not. So any comments or questions about divine guidance?
I think I tend to recognize it more after it's happened
Yeah.
than seeing it happen, but like being in it or looking for it. It's like afterwards you go, oh, I didn't do that.
Right, good. So I don't know if you all heard what Chris said. She said it's sometimes easier to recognize that you've been divinely guided in retrospect. And I think that's so important in terms of, at least it has been for me, in terms of deepening my understanding of divine guidance and deepening my relationship. And that is, do you know, we don't learn from our mistakes. I've made the same mistake a number of times in a number of ways, but we learn from reflection upon our mistakes. I think the same is true for guidance. We learn from reflection about how grace, the Spirit of God, is working in us and in our lives. What do you think? Yes, no?
Yes. Yeah. For me, I find that as I get busy throughout the day and you're dealing with all the dualities of the, physical world and different things like that, the best time for me for clarity and really get a sense of knowing for guidance is usually when I first wake up in the morning, when I'm like really refreshed and before my mind got too busy and the monkeys chatter started and dealing with all the things that you have to do. So for me, there's times of the day or after prayer and meditation that I find are best for me for guidance and clarity.
Great. Great. Yes, Joy.
I have found that, I don't know where I got this expression from, but it applies to me or it has applied to me, and it's called unconsciously competent.
Yeah.
There are many things that I had guidance I didn't know I did,
Yeah.
and I'd never stopped to ask for it until, and so unity is very new to me. So I am absorbing a lot, and it's been a big change for me. And the guidance thing and waiting for that. Now I wait. I take a deep breath and I think, okay, what am I gonna do? Hurry up. No. And so yeah, let's go. I need it quick. But yeah, and I find that also I have been very fortunate, and maybe I think I came into this life with it. I've been very blessed with having the right guidance and not knowing it. I have been very much unconsciously competent. And when I look back on things, it's like, wow, I didn't know it, but it happened. And so now now what I do is I wait for it. And I'll think, and I'll give the problem or the question or whatever. It's like, okay, what are we gonna do? Send me something I know it looks good or bad, and I get what I call these feelings. And I generally am directed a lot by that, because I kind of, people laugh and they'll say, well, you kind of know, you just kind of wait and you tell me what, and I said, I do. And I've been very blessed by being unconsciously competent, but now I'm a little,
You're getting competent.
I'm getting competent. So I am waiting, and it's been interesting, because either when I'm waiting, either someone will call me on the phone, or somehow I get this, it's like, whoa, there's my message. I think that's my message, and or not. So it's made my life pretty interesting for that. But when you are not married, maybe that's, for me, that's a good thing. But when you pay your own, whatever happens, it's your problem. You can't say you can't blame it on anybody else but yourself. And which is okay. I'll do it. because I know that's part of the deal. But I just, but it's been an interesting 2 years since I've been involved with Unity, both up in Surprise and here. And so, and I usually go along with it. I've learned to trust it, and I have huge trust issues, huge. So I've learned gradually to trust what I'm feeling I need to do. And it usually resonates with me that it's right, instead of like, no. So
That's one of the 7 ways we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw this out there to see what comes up for you all. Because Joy said, use the term unconsciously competent, in that upon reflection, it looks to her like she's been divinely guided beyond anything that she had anything to do with, except she just did things and hadn't prayed for guidance, hadn't tried to figure it out, hadn't whatever. What do you make of that?
It sounds real. It sounds like she trusted what the messages that she was receiving were the feelings.
Yes. What else? Anything else? So trust, learning to trust.
The spark of the divine is within all of us, and I think intuitively it tries to connect with us, even though we're not, at least, or conscious of that. I mean, I wasn't really taught the Christ within me growing up or anything, but just like Joy said, where I can look back and reflect. And boy, thank God I was divinely guided, and a lot of times, even though I didn't recognize it as that, there were situations that somebody was watching out for me. And in my childlike mind, the only thing I knew was, boy, Jesus must love me. because it all really worked out for my highest good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone online want to comment on that? No? Okay, all right.
I want to say something.
Yes, please.
Joy, I agree with you totally. I was not brought up in the church, but I was brought up to have a healing heart, which is what this says. I was brought up to face my troubles each day and give love and guidance to myself and do what I felt was right in the world. And I've done very well, and I'm glad I'm over 60. I got better and better after I was 60. I love the age I'm at, and I think we're all enjoying life now.
Great. Thanks, Jan. Can you all hear her? Did you hear Jan okay?
Not
It
really.
was kind
It
of
was
hard,
very
wasn't
dark.
it?
It was very
I
dark.
think, I'm not, Linda, would you do me a favor? I hate to ask you this, but ask Kathy if she will come in and check the sound on this. Because I know we can turn this up,
It was very dark.
and it may be
On the
up as
sound
far as
board.
it
Yeah, it
goes.
sounds, it sounds like her, maybe she's not near the microphone, so because I can hear the sound, but I can't understand the words.
Yeah,
right.
Or
I think if it were a little louder, it might be easier. Anybody else online want to comment on reflecting how beyond what you had been aware of in the moment, something was guiding your life? Is that, Stan, is that your hand up?
Yeah, I would just say that a lot of things have happened in my life that I can't put my finger on it as anything, external, but it's something happened that's been very much a matter of faith, and somebody's been watching out is what it boils down to.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And then there's the mystery for me of recognizing that as we reflect that, there has been a good deal of grace and guidance in our life. And then how is it that it doesn't look like others are being guided?
Well, that's a good question.
big question.
I mean, how is it that it doesn't look like other lives are being graced the way ours has been?
And it's a lot.
Huh?
And I
It's a
see
lot.
that a lot more so.
So what do you make of that, and what do you tell yourself about a conundrum like that?
Kathy said there's nothing that you can do. She's gonna call them, that has something to do with your computer.
Okay.
I think Jan was just too far from the mic.
Okay. Yeah, Jan, you may have been too far from the mic. Next time you share, get up on close.
Yes.
And somebody needs to mute.
And, Sig, are you muted?
No,
No? Would you?
oh, I am muted, yeah.
No.
We can hear
Yes,
you.
yes.
It's on their phone, and the problem is with their mic, not anything I can do here.
Okay.
Thank you, love. All right, let's, yeah, let's,
Back to your question, I just feel like everybody's on their own soul's journey, and they will be awakened or have awareness when they're ready to receive it. And I'm not sure there's anything I can really do about that. I can't do anything for them, but hold their highest and best that, something will happen to help them become more aware of the truth
right,
within them.
right.
Yeah.
So I was watching the news last night, which is always provocative for me.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the starvation. I mean, there were pictures of
Oh, that was a
people
lot.
starving in Sudan. And I thought, God, I started fantasizing about getting out on a plane, going over there or something. But it reminded me that God will guide me in what to do about that too. And what I know to do is just pray for those people, pray for the situation. And that's why, I think prayer is so important. in scripture, I like to talk about this scripture passage when we're talking about, when I'm considering and talking about things such as this. Why do bad things happen to good people? Or, you know, where's God in the gun violence and all that? Where Peter and Jesus are talking, faith and the Christ are having a little, our faith and the Christ in us having a little internal conversation. And it's that conversation. Why Peter says, you know, look at John over there, what he's doing. What's up with him? Why don't you do something about that? And Jesus said, what is that to you? Follow me. So when I think about situations like we're looking at a lot in the world today, what I can do, it's not my job to judge it or try to fix it up here. If I can't go to the situation and do something productive, the best thing I can do is pray. And envision, you know, we have an imagination. We can envision whatever good would be helpful. I'm talking too much. You need to talk. Comments, Betty Jo.
I feel in my experience that I'm in alignment with divine spirit and I'm open and receptive. I get guidance of a feeling of knowing the right thing to do.
Yes.
And it comes from different areas.
Like,
just like the other day, I was just open and respect and being joyful sitting in my home. And my neighbor called and said, Jared, her son, is going to clean off the roof, clean all the gutters. And would you like for him to clean yours? I said, yes, thank you, you know. So it was just a little experience of just sitting there feeling joyful and getting a text like that. I felt like I was open and receptive.
great.
To divine mind.
What a great example of the law of attraction. That what we are is what matters. The energy we are is an attracting power and is a creative power, right? So did you all online hear Betty Jo's example? Great, great.
Yeah, I knew I had to have it done because the pine needles were gathering and we'd had a lot of wind lately. And I'm in an area where we have a lot of pine trees, so. And that was just an answer.
Isn't that interesting? So the idea was already in your mind and the energy you were in connected with your neighbor's energy.
Yeah.
I love it. Great example. Who else? Anybody else want to comment? All right. I don't want to do that. Weird. So this is about relationships, and this is from the book. And so Doug, can you read through these? And then we'll just, I mean, as Doug reads, just sit with the words and the message and see how you relate to it.
1, take God in it and to it.
The relationship. Take God into the relationship and to it. Okay.
2, develop a trusting relationship with yourself, authenticity. 3, take dominion of your thoughts. 4, practice forgiveness. 5, learn to accept people as they are. 6, get support. 7, embody love and express it.
What do you have to say about that?
Something you could work on every day.
I know there's a lot going on there. To read too, yeah.
But it resonates, that's the thing to
All of
do.
it. Mhm.
What'd you
That's
say,
the
Joy?
thing to- I said, it resonates to me like, yeah, that's the thing, you know, to do. And I think we're probably all working on it because we are all a work in progress. But I like, yeah, thought, yeah, I can, you know, I'm learning to do these things, let's put it that way, and it resonates positive to me, like, okay, I get that.
Great.
Jan has her hand up
Jan,
online.
Learn to accept people as they are. Can you hear me? Learn to accept people. You're muting it. That's
say it
it.
again, Jan, I didn't get it.
Learn to accept people as they are.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one.
There
Yeah.
are too many people wanting to change others,
Yeah.
and they don't accept them. And what I've learned is that you meet people as they are, take them who they are, love them, and treat them as your equal.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. You know, that's, and it's an incredible mastery to be able to accept people just the way they are. I sure had a hard time accepting my 13-year-old daughter as she was.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, that's probably the biggest.
And sometimes I still do.
Yeah.
But it's the goal, right? It's the goal.
Yes.
The more we accept people just as they are, what happens? Think about what happens in you when you come to accept someone that may be difficult to accept. What happens in you?
Frees you up.
Pardon?
It frees you up.
It frees you up. Yes,
You don't have to control it.
right.
I've mentioned that I belong to this discussion group with people with various opinions. And that's so important because everybody's entitled to an opinion. And one new member was saying, oh, you know, people are not always all agreeing. I said, well, that's why it's a discussion group. If we all said the same thing, we wouldn't have anything to discuss. So if we can accept what they're saying as their opinion, then we have our own.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, because you don't have, you can accept a person, and I know people I can accept, I don't particularly like or appreciate what they do, but it's not up to me. That was a big lesson for me, it's because I'm very opinionated. And so that's been, I'm less so, but that's been a big one. It's like, if you choose to be a jerk, then you choose to be a jerk, and that doesn't affect me. I don't have to change you, I don't have to hate you or not hate you, but I don't have to. So, and I can just say.
No judgment there.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't define you.
Yeah, and it's like, go on without me, I'm not into this.
That's okay.
Then that's okay too, and that even comes with family members.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we all have one or two of those.
Yeah, Cindy?
You know, it just brought me back like 50 years. As a young girl, I lived in a very family that was very dramatic with each other. There was a lot of yelling and screaming and that kind of stuff. And I remember writing a list of the qualities that I wanted in a man. And I spoke it up to the sky. And I got a ticket for my girlfriend to go to a dance, and I never go by myself. I was 17. And I went to this dance, and this young dude jumps off the stage that was playing in the band and asked me to dance. And later in the evening, he walked me to the car. My dad said, "You're not going out with that kook."
I have long hair.
Oh, you did?
I want a picture.
And I said, "I'm gonna marry that kook."
Really? Wow.
And my dad got to love Doug like a son.
Oh,
But you know, setting your sights on what you want and then having it move forward and connect you, and it's amazing.
it's amazing. Did you all online hear Cindy? That she wrote down the qualities of the kind of man she wants, that you could see beyond the yelling in your family,
Yeah, the turmoil,
something else,
right.
something higher. And she said she prayed it, you know, you brought it to God. Take God in and to it.
down to the hair color and the eye color.
Wow. Gee,
Wow, that's very specific.
and you got it all?
It changed a little. Now it's not just tan, it was blonde now.
You had blonde hair done?
Yes, I
Yeah,
did.
long blonde hair.
Oh, my God.
Oh, I
What
don't
did-
know.
That's why I love the punch.
What instrument did you play?
Keyboards.
Keyboards.
Yeah,
Oh.
piano or
Do you still play?
not really. I like to, but
You don't have a keyboard at home?
No, it's got a banjo
no
and a.
banjo, no,
Oh, do you
What kind
play
of
it?
Banjo.
What?
What style of banjo?
it's 5-string.
Five string?
Do you play it?
No.
No,
Oh,
I'm working.
Okay. Yeah.
my husband played plectrum banjo.
Oh,
So you folks online, any comments about, beside what Jan said, which was great, learning to acceptable, or any of these 7 that you would comment on?
I
Yes,
think taking dominion of your thoughts is a tough one too, because you catch yourself in the wrong thought.
yes,
And have to just like stop it.
Yeah.
But being, I guess there comes the being aware of it
yes,
and being there lies the consciousness of what's going on.
yes.
And if it's not right, take it someplace else.
Let it go,
Mhm.
let it go.
Because I tend to do that.
I love what I heard in Unity, and I never heard it. I mean, I have a master's degree in counseling, and I never heard it in any of my counseling classes. Because I don't know, I mean, Cindy, you'll comment on this, I hope. But I first heard it in Unity. It made perfect sense. That we all have a part of us that is not our thoughts, called our observer self. Or you could call it the Christ presence if you want, but it's something that is beyond our thoughts. Like in Unity, I remember this when I was taking classes at Unity Village, long before I became a minister. I was taught by Ed Rabel. I have thoughts, but I am not my thoughts. I have emotions, but I am not my emotions. I have a body, but I'm not my body. And so it's been termed, for me anyway, my observer self. We have an observer within us, within our consciousness, that can observe, that observes it all. If it's awake, if we're aware and awake to it, you have to be present to yourself in the moment. And that observer self determines, is this thought one I want to keep and expand on, or is it one that has to go? Any comments there? Yeah, Betty Jo?
I found out that sometimes these thoughts come that you're not really entertaining. You don't feel you want them in your mind. So you don't entertain them and you let them go immediately and they fade into nothingness.
And they fade into nothingness. I've got a picture that I used to keep. I don't think I still have it. I got it years and years ago. It's a picture of, it's a pen and ink drawing of a person, can't tell which sex because it doesn't matter. And this gigantic, huge old oak tree, I think. And the saying on it was, let it go and it will die from lack of attention. And so it fades into nothingness. I talk about it in terms of like 20th century, 21st century vernacular, that we can reprogram our consciousness. We can create a new hard drive. We can take stuff off the current hard drive and create a new one, put new information on it, so that we're not the same as we were. And what we let go of, as Betty was saying, Betty Jo was saying, stay present to it and let it go. And the key is staying awake to it. So what about develop a trusting relationship with yourself? How do you do that?
Practice.
Huh?
Practice.
You have to be aware. I think that's the thing is that I'm not even, I mean, where would I have even gone? Never had been aware of these things because I wasn't in Unity. I really wasn't in any kind of church, so these are all like new things. Then, I mean, it's totally true and makes sense, but it's like, what wouldn't have known what book to pick up or that, this is like, wow. So I think that the divine guidance was letting me find this church and realizing this all makes sense to me, and I didn't know, but again, it was that unconsciously competent. I saw it up in, R.H. Johnson, I thought, cool. And so I think I was guided there, driving up, I was new to the area and walked in and I thought, if this is the same one because I was over years ago, I was at the big church over on, and I never found it again when I moved. And so when I came back, I thought, I wonder if there's another one. I don't want to drive over to Phoenix, and I'm just driving along and I see Unity and I'm like, pulled in, nobody was there, the door was open, Billy was the minister. So that's how, and it just made sense to me. And it's like, isn't that interesting? It makes sense to me. This is probably what I've been feeling, but I couldn't put words to it.
That's what a lot of people say.
I didn't have the words. It's like, really? But it resonated and I don't know why. I think this is where I was supposed to land.
Well, so what I want to say about that is the truth is the truth. When you hear the truth, you know it.
Yeah.
You resonate with it. So anyway, trusting yourself. So how do you consider for a moment what have you done or not done that has brought you to trusting yourself?
Well, for me, I've learned to really love myself. And
How did you do that?
Well, I quit beating myself up for what I thought were past mistakes or whatever. And
Pause for just a moment.
okay.
Beating yourself up.
Yes. Yeah.
Haven't we all?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. I think everybody does. Nobody has led a perfect life. We do make mistakes. And we can have guilt and shame around those mistakes. And so my prayer life and my experience, almost 3 decades now in Unity, has been a very healing thing for things like that. So loving myself was the first step. Realizing for me too that I wanted, as most people do, to feel loved and accepted, that you become a people pleaser in a sense, that you try to do what you think somebody else expects you to do and be, and that's not being authentic either. So, I mean, these are just over time things that for me, I became aware of and could make better choices and decisions around.
Great. It's a process, isn't it?
It is a process. Mhm.
Anyone online want to comment about trusting yourself? I heard a long time ago.
Yeah, Ken and Jan's hands are up.
Jan and Ken, yay. Jan, you go.
Oh, it's him. It's me this time.
Ken's hand, Ken, go.
The number 4, practice forgiveness.
Yeah.
That's getting harder and harder. And I don't know if it's an age thing, but between all that's going on, people shooting everybody and just day after day, it's tough. Could you speak to that a little bit?
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Forgiveness is not only for others, it's for yourself.
and he's saying it's hard to forgive these days when you look at hear about all the shootings.
Right.
How do you forgive people for that, for killing? And let me go back to saying it's a process. I think as my experience with it is, I needed to be willing to forgive. And if I wasn't willing to forgive yet, I needed to be willing to forgive. And pray for the people who I have a problem with. So you're talking, Ken, on a much larger scale, sort of globally here about all the things that are happening. How do you forgive that? And forgiveness doesn't mean condone. Forgiveness is really, for me, about freeing my energy system up for right thought and right action, or to see something clearly. And so, I mean, I can't go over there and do something about Putin, for example, but I can, my right action is to envision a change of heart for him and pray that he awakens to the divine idea of life and the divine idea of love. Pray for that. And for me, that's a part of that is the forgiveness process, but it's, you know, it's a step. It's a step. There have been plenty of times when I had to be willing to forgive. I wasn't willing right away because because if the situation was awful, it was awful. And my mind was there. I had to take my mind somewhere else. So, I mean, Ken, what do you think? What are your thoughts now? You're mute, unmute.
Is he talking? Yeah, he's talking.
Maybe he's forgot to mute.
There you go. I can hear you now.
Yeah, that helps a lot. I mean, the people around you that have, how do you say it? People let you in. It's easy to forgive them as person. And but yeah, you helped me a little on the other, but it still bothers you that this is going on every day. I know you shouldn't watch TV. That might help.
It's painful. It's painful to the heart and soul of us to see the pain that's out there and the tragedy.
One of the things that have helped me around that, being able to think about trying to forgive somebody for an atrocity, something that I couldn't condone or excuse in any way, shape, or form. But I remind myself that I don't know their whole story. I don't know their background. I don't know what kind of life or trauma or abuse or what they've gone through to create in them the kind of mind that would do something like that they do. And that's not to excuse them, but I can get to a place where I can say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Yeah.
I can't forgive them, but God can. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, and God can, it's the grace of God
Yeah.
and the willingness that releases us, I think.
Yeah.
That's something.
Pardon?
Go ahead, Betty.
Jan, is that you, Jan?
Yeah.
Okay.
On number 6, get support. When my father died, I was stressed out and I got support and it helped me. Now that I'm older and I'm needing support, I think the Unity Church and what we feel with each other there is giving us confidence and giving us a feeling of fullness of our lives. And we are learning to love each other as a family. And I think the church is doing great right now by helping everybody. Somebody else answer that or say yes or whatever. I'd like you to. So you're giving us confidence, Sharon. You're giving us support.
Whoops.
What I'm saying.
Jan, I missed where you, sorry, I don't know why this is doing that. Hang on, guys, hang on. Jan?
Yeah?
Would you say again how you're getting support now?
Well, when I'm going to the Unity Church,
Oh, okay.
I'm there and I'm feeling the acceptance of others. I'm feeling the rapport through the music. I'm seeing a basic feeling of fullness in my life when I go to church. And I feel we're learning to love each other in the church as a family. And you're guiding us to do that, which is giving us the best support we can do to learn how to know each other and reach out, because most of us live isolated and a lot of people live by themselves and they don't reach out at all.
Yeah.
And I'm luckily have a spouse to know how to, or not know how to do with things with. But I think we do need support to find out how to guide our lives.
Thank you, great. Yeah, when I say get support, I mean, don't find someone to collude with you. You know what I mean? Find someone who will give you the truth. So, I mean, it's like this, if I start complaining, like I was talking about Sunday on the tennis court, right? I'm playing tennis with, there are 5 of us, there are 6 of us. And someone starts talking about complaining, not just sharing a fact as in having a discussion, but as in, aren't they awful? And isn't it awful? And it was the gas prices, and then it was the oil situation. There was no end to it. And the others were getting into that conversation, colluding. And that doesn't help. That just creates more negative energy, right? So support is really about feeling with a person and shining a light, some kind of a light. Okay, I want to take a short break here for water and sugar or bathroom. Just stand up and stretch so we can get energized. Get energized, you guys out there. I'll be back. I'm just going to stay right here, but we'll get back to the discussion in a minute. You guys get some coffee.
You want me to bring it over to you? Because I'm serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I watch it, you'll, I try not.
Did the folks in the back get the basket?
Yes.
What do you need, honey?
The basket. I don't know how it missed us.
Oh, I looked at it.
Take it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's.
We're gonna move all this over there. And we wanna do that.
Right. She's saying it's
The
not.
folks who really put a database together, all this stuff is in a database now. Because we were losing track, people would take things out and they didn't come back. So we can lock that. This room we can't lock, unfortunately, because we've got this in here, right? But maybe we just need to put a lock on that door, right? Anyway, long and short is, this is going over there and then it will be a library.
That's the thing, I think it's different.
Yeah.
It's not.
I would love some
what
ideas
they
for
do.
the bookstore.
Well, yeah.
You know, no one goes in our bookstore.
Somebody, aren't you gonna forgive what they did?
Why? Because they
Well,
buy
I
on
didn't get that,
Amazon, right?
but she was saying that, what I got, it was not the same thing, so you can ask that. Okay, because I don't think that forgiveness is not condoning, I think there's a difference. You can't say, well, I'll forgive them, I'll forgive Putin because, you know, he's trying real hard, yeah, right. You know, I mean, I think that's what they're trying to say, is it's different. Forgiveness is not condoning. Couldn't condone.
Well, no, but there is a difference in how to separate
Well,
the
that's,
two.
well, that's where the.
Yeah, that's where the, that's where,
the-
that's
yeah.
where we become.
Yeah,
Students
that's-
and
yeah,
still.
exactly, and that's, exactly, that's the hard Yeah, so it's really. You know what I think I thought of today? I'm not sure I have your phone number.
Is there a let me make sure, Linda Walker up here?
Yeah, she's the one, she's sitting right over there.
Oh, right here. Because, well, there's 2 walkers and I checked off one for you and then I saw the other was checked and I thought, I wonder if that's the same one that I.
No.
Oh, these are peanut butter inside, that makes
Oh,
me
man,
tired.
she looks so cute with the cards.
They're peanut butter in there.
Yes.
Some good gray hair, kind of bright.
But it
short.
took me a while to be
Yeah.
shorter.
Yeah, it looks really cute. She's a cancer.
I was admiring your hair.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Naturally curly.
Gotcha. I just called you.
Well, it has a natural way to it.
Yes, I do have it.
But I need,
you should see my face.
Well, I put lace on it.
You do?
Yeah, and that kind of curls up. I really need to go get it trimmed and shaped. Because I've been cutting it for about 3 years myself. Yeah, I don't know how you do it. It looks. I don't know, I can't see what it looks like. I feel it. You feel it? Yeah, I feel it. And I measure it. You know, this knuckle, this knuckle.
Scans probably.
Yeah, thank
You
you.
got my papers that I put.
Yes,
through.
I love
Yeah,
it.
okay. I see one topic color. You know, have you see what I had to say about that?
in there.
I do.
And I would appreciate. if
Maybe
I
I'll
was
go in
saying-
the bathroom. As long as I know.
Why don't you have one? Take a little
I
walk.
was gonna say, I appreciate it if I'm off track, that I should be saying something different, but then it wouldn't be what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, let's go, guys.
Oh, working, I didn't, that's sweet that.
There's Cleo.
Yeah, she's good.
There's some other good books here.
Hi, baby
Well, these are all the-
She's saying, don't just stand there talking, sweet talking me.
It's right.
In there during the morning.
Yeah, she, it says number 6 gives support, and that's what she's trying to do, to promote that.
Yes, that's true. Well, I don't know that I would call it support though, Linda. She's wanting a little attention. She wants to get some love. She is a love though. She is a love.
Yeah, all this stuff.
She's
is-
a little love bug.
Check out our stuff.
She cuddles
I
with
know,
me
that's
at
so
night.
cool, isn't it? I know, when I used to sell that sign.
We have the best
So
books,
many.
don't you
You
think?
do,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, this is much easier than going to the library. There's so many.
And what an array. I mean, it runs the
I
gamut of
know.
self-help, faith
Self-hypnosis.
traditions.
All the Unity books, Catherine Ponders and the Fillmores and.
James Philip
Yeah,
Freeman.
yeah.
I heard it.
How about radical healing? I'm just reading from here.
Yeah, when I was sitting over there, I used to look over and see all the books are fat, they're great.
Are you working today, Chris?
No,
You take Wednesdays off?
I take a lot of time off now. It's the resort, I mean, probably 80% of the people leave in the summertime.
Oh, yeah,
Because they're real part some snowbirds, but I have some of my own clients. So I'm just working Mondays and Tuesdays right now.
Chris did this.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a cute little salon.
And
I'm
where-
enjoying the break a little bit right now.
Did you say resort, where do you work?
It's a sunflower.
Oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's just down the road a piece from me.
Is it? It's a cute little shop.
Oh, no, I guess I'm
Where
thinking
is
the wrong thing.
everybody? Let's see,
I'm
who do we
thinking
need back here?
sunflower.
Cindy and Doug.
Motor vehicle.
That-
motor-
Other than that-
That's where, yeah,
Oh, good,
that's,
here we
but they
go.
have a
Joey
real big
Brown.
activity center and,
I'm all the way out on Mirage Road, make a left and all the way towards 303,
oh, okay.
151st Avenue.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I
That
have
is
friends
out
that
there
are in some
that go with
Hey,
Sunflower.
Joy, would you shut the door,
Yeah,
please?
Sunflower is a real active community. They've got a lot going on there when,
Is everybody back
except
here?
in the
pretty
summertime.
Okay, I've got another Mary Oliver
There,
poem.
Chris? Do you live there?
No, I work there.
Yeah, I knew you had.
I wish, I kind of would
Jan
like
and Ken are here. Sig Reed, Sig back, and Billy. Okay, so this is Mary Oliver's poem entitled Prayer. I love it. May I never not be frisky. May I never not be risque. May my ashes, when you have them, friend, and give them to the ocean, leap in the froth of the waves, still loving movement, still ready beyond all else to dance for the world. Prayer.
I like that.
So how do you dance for the world? Wow. How do you leap in the froth of the waves?
Not too much sleeping, you can see that on Sunday morning when you say jump up.
Exactly. By coming in an example,
By coming,
Becoming.
becoming an example.
oh, an example, yes, absolutely. Anybody online want to talk about how you leap in the froth of the waves or dance for the world? No?
I can leap in the froth of the waves in my mind. I just think I can be there in a second. Imagination.
I mean, pause for a moment. It's not about taking that literally. It is about, what is it a metaphor for?
What's exciting?
Pardon?
What's exciting? What's uplifting?
Yes. Stay excited about your life.
Gratitude.
Gratitude, yeah, that's a high energy. It's like dancing on the froth of the waves. Yes.
I used to do a lot of dancing when I was young. And now that I'm older, I'm not able to do that. But when I hear good music, I remember all the good times and I have the same feeling
Oh,
of dancing in my head or my body that I had then. So I just enjoy those memories and the feelings
yes.
listening to the music.
That's why we enjoy sitting up front here, at the piano near the band, because you can see that we're dancing with our.
Yeah. And if you could see my feet.
I did see your feet.
You do see my feet?
Right, yes, we can.
Yeah. And Saturday, at the women's group, we're gonna do a little movement.
I was doing line dancing up until about 3 months ago when we realized that my balance was not good and I was likely to injure myself. So that would not be a good thing to do, but I like the movement.
Yes, any kind of movement, our body. So think about this. Dancing with life or dancing for the world has a lot to do with this right here, these 7 things. Can you see that? That dancing with the world is like dancing with God. I mean, dancing with divine energy. What would it look like if I were dancing with the divine energy of life today? I certainly wouldn't be moping around, would I? And if I were dancing with relationships, I wouldn't be so quick to judge. I'd kind of try to do a dance with what was going on, like a dance of understanding, which we're getting into in July. That's the power of understanding. So, anything else you want to say or observe about any of these 7? Joy?
In practicing forgiveness is being neutral on a situation or a child, or being just neutral, like, is that forgive? I haven't formally said I forgive you, but I am not holding that person or persons in any disregard. I'm just neutral.
Yeah.
And if they choose to come back, choose to see the error, and I pray they see, I think, the error of their ways. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, but I'm not attached to it anymore. I step back and I'm like, this is about them. This is not about me.
It sounds like it, huh?
Because it, and I think it is, it's not something, I mean, it's, and they will say the one child is particularly a problem, but he acknowledges he is, and he's never said, oh, it's your fault. Neither child said it's your fault, but they're out there and they have distanced themselves because they know they have issues, but it's not, and so, but I don't want that. And so I'm like, whatever. So that's what I'm saying is forgiveness, or not be neutral on that. And if they chose to call me or come back, they would be accepted. I'm not gonna hang. So is that?
So we don't have to like everybody, but we have to love everybody.
Okay, so
And
and that's maybe that's, yeah, okay.
I like to think, at least for me, when the button isn't there anymore, the forgiveness work has been accomplished.
Okay. well,
And
I
okay.
agree
when
with
the
that.
person
If
who could
you
push
don't
my
feel
button,
charged
I
over
don't.
it
It's not-
anymore.
I'm
I
totally-
think that's part of forgiveness.
Yeah, and I pray that whatever they do, the best happens to them. I don't have any, and I hope someday they can be mature enough or find what they need in order to reestablish a relationship. But right now, it's not. But I'm not carrying it around like, oh, and I'm
No,
not talking
sometimes
about it, so.
sometimes we just have to let people go.
Yeah, let me go.
Anybody online want to comment any more about any of these 7? Yes, Barbara. Unmute yourself, Barbara. There.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay. I was in a group yesterday, and it was the prayer group, by the way, and they got on the subject of Roe versus Wade. And it got around to about most of the people there said, I want it changed, and those old white men can't rule my life. And one other person said, well, I don't know if we're wording that exactly right. How can you blame all those old white men for overturning Roe versus Wade? And a few women, by the way. One woman, by the way. How can you not forgive them and ask for something, for it to be overturned again? So I finally came to the decision after I heard all of that. There are some things that are just above my pay scale. I can't explain God to you. I can't explain there's so many things I can't explain to you. So I finally decided that if I can find peace, which to me that is forgiveness, if I can find peace where I'm happy and I love everything and everybody, or just content, it seems like sometimes. If I can find that, it seems to work itself out. And if I'm to understand it, I will. If I'm not to understand it, I won't. But the main thing is I've got to find my own peace first. Thank you.
I think that is one of the great spiritual calls in each of our lives, to reconcile with those things that seem unacceptable in some way. Or Barbara was saying, this is above my pay scale. I don't understand it, and I have to accept that I don't understand it. It's above my pay scale. And that was, if I'm hearing you correctly, Barbara, that was a way of reconciling with those things that are beyond. Why would someone do something like that, right? So reconciliation is finding peace, I think. I mean, that's for me and for Barbara. What she was saying is, I have found peace, realizing that some things I will not understand and there's no point in trying. Chris?
Yeah, and
One other thing. Someone said, I think you, but someone in the audience also said, these are not my thoughts. So when I'm just desperate for the people in Sudan, when my heart breaks, then that's the point where
Rose.
I think we lost the voice, right?
Yes.
I think we lost your voice, Barbara. You were saying that that's the point where, I don't know what happened there. Any other comments? Thank you, Barbara. You were saying something, Chris.
Oh, I was thinking she was talking how these all really do fit together, and practicing forgiveness kind of goes right in with learning to accept people as they are.
Yes. Yes, I think so.
I think.
I think so. Anyone want to comment or share an example of that? Being able to forgive has something to do with accepting people the way they are. I mean, you know, if you don't accept, if you're not in acceptance, you're in resistance. Or somewhere in between, right? And if you're in resistance, are you in forgiveness?
No.
You can't forgive something and fight it at the same time.
Right.
Good question. Good comment. Anybody else on these 7 before I move along? Okay then. Divine guidance. I love this. Louis Everly. God speaks to everyone all the time, and no one is beyond the reach of God's voice. So my job is to keep listening, right? As best I can. It's the way of life. It's change. It's the way life lives itself. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
So there's a chapter in here on handling change, making and handling change. Do you want to comment about what you've learned about making and handling change, anybody?
We've all had to do a lot of it, as far as I'm concerned, every one of us, more so maybe people like ourselves that have changed and have adopted, have gone into unity or have changed their life or their thinking. I mean, there's some big, huge changes. And some people make little ones, but I think the people that I've met at unity have had big ones. In my estimation, big ones.
That's how we wind up in unity usually. Anyone want to comment on or share an example of discovering that change is the way it is, the way life lives itself?
Like you said, there's so many things that I see people involved with.
Speak up well so they can hear you.
Okay. My husband and I started going out when we were 14, and then he left us after 18 years of marriage because we just had grown to be 2 different people by the time we were in our 30s. And that was a difficult time. But because of that, I realized I had to find an occupation. That's when I went back to college and got my nursing degree with honors and all that stuff. And met somebody who wanted to move out here. Otherwise, I'd still be living in New Jersey. So for me, every time there's been a change, I can see the benefit to me for having to make that change, even though it wasn't something that I wanted to do in the first place. It's like, I can see the good in the way that my life has been evolving.
Yes.
Unfolding.
Yes, great.
And then you don't have the resentment because you say, well, this worked out better. Of course, you have a lot of tears when it's happening.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
But if you can always, after it happens a couple of times, you say, well, look, things have always worked out better before. So that's the way I'm going to look for it this time too.
Great, great. Yeah, so it is realizing that, and it's usually on reflection, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
We don't like the change that's happening maybe, but reflecting on it, the spiritual way asks us to, if not find, make some good in it. If not find the good in it, make the good in it. Because if we believe scripture, we either do or we don't, right? If we believe it, then we're meant for joy. We're meant to live fully. So change is not to stop us, but to grow us.
It's the saying that it takes a door to close for another to open.
Yeah.
In addition to that statement though,
Mhm.
when one door closes, another one opens. But meantime, it's hell in the hallway.
Oh,
Yes, it is. That's, I think my,
very true.
Deepak Chopra said that religion was for people who were afraid that they were gonna go to hell. And spirituality is for people who've already been there.
Yeah.
And that's where you'll find unity, people.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you. Okay, moving on, if there's nothing else on change. So I am suggesting to contemplate this. So just close your eyes for a moment and I'll read it to you. And ponder it for a moment and then share as we close for today. To live a path with heart, a life committed to awakening. We must care for whatever we encounter, however difficult or beautiful, and bring to it our heart in a great intimacy. To discover the capacity to bless whatever is in front of us. This is enlightenment that is intimate with all things. What do you think about that? A life committed to awakening. We must care for whatever we encounter, however difficult or beautiful, and bring to it our heart in a great intimacy. I wish I had known that when I was going through a divorce. Yeah. I don't know that I could have, but I would have at least been willing to read it, try it.
You know, where it says committed to awakening, I think that's the key to all of these things we've been talking about, awareness, awareness. And all these things I think can come down, I'm writing down 2 words. When we were talking before about thinking of what the reason why some people are doing such terrible things. And I try to do that a lot. And my son always says, I think I mentioned it when we were talking about the traffic, you know, what is the reason that he's driving so fast and cutting me off? And my son says, Mom, you find an excuse for everybody. But I said, there's a difference between an excuse and a reason. And if we try to think of the reason, that's not excusing them, but it makes it a little softer for me to handle. One of the other things was mistakes. Are you sorry about all the mistakes you made? I really, of course, now with all these years of maturity, look at them as lessons. So I don't think of them as mistakes. There's something I shouldn't have done, but I really learned from that. And the trick is doing it before you have to have it 3 or 4 times. But anyway, it still is a lesson. So I think when we start to be aware of the ramifications of both sides of all of these things, we have a happier life because it makes it worthwhile to be going through some of these things when you know that it's for a reason.
Or at least know it in retrospect, right? Yes. Joe.
Richard Rohr says everything is a gift.
Who says that?
Richard Rohr.
Oh, Richard Rohr, yeah.
Priest, everything is a gift.
Everything is.
And I think he even has a book that title. But I know that's one of his statements.
And that certainly indicates someone who has come to this place in their consciousness, right? And I imagine he suffered, you know, to get to the point of being able to say everything is a gift. You don't get there without walking the path. There is no softer, easier way. I don't think.
I have a question. if we believe in, we can come back in this life, come back again if we make a choice. Do we come back knowing what we've already learned, or do we have to do this over again? Do we come at the stage that we leave and then we move on like, okay, I've ended here, say I got my master's degree, now I'm gonna come back and get my doctorates. Do we come back with what we know and then we add to
You
it?
should have a conversation with God about that, Joy.
Really?
People who have crossed or gone down the tunnel into the light have only come back to say, over there, it's all bliss. But they come back, at least the ones I've listened to, come back recognizing that life is all about love.
So I said, I don't want to come back again unless they give me a list to remind me of what I did wrong so that.
Right, exactly. Memo to self, right?
Now, that's another thing we have to, as individuals, at least I have, had to reconcile. What about people, what about those situations? I'm not even gonna go there because we're gonna close right now. Any final comments? Jan, Ken, Barbara, C? Okay. Anyone here? Any final comments? Okay, wait, we have one more week. Next Wednesday, we'll kind of close out. I'm gonna do a little bit on healing and gratitude. Any takeaways for today? What are you going to take away for today? This is called reflection.
I'm encouraged.
Pardon?
I said, I am encouraged that I know a lot of these things because I think it's making my life better. And
Right.
we are following now what a lot of people don't understand and
Yeah, grateful for the place you're in today.
yeah.
I'm seeing some heads go like this
Yeah.
too. Grateful
Yeah.
for the place we are today. Anybody else on a takeaway for today? Well, what was the most important thing you heard today? Don't make me tell you a blind joke. Most important thing you heard? No?
To know that when one door closes, the other one opens.
Yeah.
Know that.
Yeah. So today we talked about relationship and 7 things that help create good relationships. We talked about those 7 things. We talked about divine guidance and how to discern, or the fact that it's important to discern divine guidance from other things that come up. And then we talked about change.
But I think the top of the list was number 1 is to take God into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take that
And then the rest will follow.
True. Okay, well, let's close with prayer then. Are you ready? So God, we give thanks for this time, affirming and knowing that each moment we spent together exploring spiritual ideas continues to be a blessing and expands in our consciousness and in our experience to bless us and to deepen our relationship with your divine light, love, and all the goodness that you are. And so we go into the rest of our day with a sense of gratitude, knowing that blessings await us, giving thanks for the time together. We say amen and amen. Okay, y'all.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day. Good meeting. And I'll see you tonight. Cindy?
Tonight starts at 6 or
6.
6. And the next question is this your picture on the boat?
I know people have asked me that. when I went to Bantam in New York, because she wanted to meet with me around the cover, my editor. And we just walked across a whole room, like shelves full of pictures that could prompt me to say what I wanted. And then I saw this.
This looks just like.
I saw the sunset, but I don't think the figure was there. It just gives me chills to talk about it. But when it came out, I thought that does look like me standing at the
Yeah.
shelf.
Yeah.
But it's not.
And knowing you spent time in like San Diego and stuff,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally picture you on the
Yeah.
day.
Oh, for
at
sure.
sunset.
I know.
Yeah,
Divine intervention.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for asking. That's even the kind of haircut I had. Did I sign that book for you, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay, good. Did I sign yours, Chris?
You did, thank you.
I didn't sign yours?
Nope. I just brought
Mine
it.
looks really used. It is. I love this book. I love this.
Oh, good.
I know a real live author.
Oh, there's some.
Hi, Joy.
Yes.
Always a
Always good week one day.
Do you have, as I need phone numbers now? Do you have,
That's our training.
for FYI?
Turn those
Stop
stop recording right now. I'm still listening to you all.
Thank you.
It's my first autograph.